What is going on, people of YouTube? My name is Kurtyoy and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, it's been quite a while since I've done something controversial and something that's really reacted badly. The last time that really reacted badly was my predictions for the Premier League last season, in which most of them were pretty close to the truth. But today is always a debatable one. I'm going to be picking, at the moment, it's not final, I will change it probably, depending on form and all that sort of stuff. My England squad for the Russia World Cup was announced our groups. It's fair to say we should go through, but will we? I hope so. I do hope so. But I'm going to be my England team from goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and strikers. So yeah, let's get started. 3 goalkeepers for England I've picked for the Russia World Cup are Butland, Pickford and Hart. Now it's questionable, Joe Hart. Is he our first choice keeper? Isn't he our first choice keeper? Well, I think he isn't, but he still makes the squad. I think he, at the moment, isn't the best. I'm looking at Pickford and Butland as the ones that are above him. But he has big tournament experience, being the goalkeeper for the last couple of tournaments, and that can really help the younger players that get picked up, and especially Butland and Pickford, who barely have any tournament experience whatsoever, especially playing. So if one of them is to play, for me, Hart has got to be the one. At the moment, I'm probably, if they're all fully fit, leaning towards Butland, but Pickford also is not very bad, not a good, not a bad second choice to have. But those 3, I think, are easy enough to pick, the 3 goalkeepers. Now we're going to move on to the centre backs, of which I've picked 4. Bit interesting, these 4, and I'm tempted to pick just 3, but I've gone with 4, and it's Cahill, Stones, Jones and Keane. Now, there's a big debate about centre backs again, and I think we've got to take 4, because in case we play 3 at the back, if we only have 3, one of them gets hurt, we are then knackered. So I think these 4 are great. You've got Cahill again, the leader, sort of experienced player you need, and the back line. Stones has been performing well and is also given that sort of playmaking centre back role, as well as Keane, who's good on the ball too. With Jones, who's performed quite well, surprisingly this season. Not many people have seen that coming. And it brings a nice balance to the defence, I think, with those 4. Cahill definitely starts. The other 3 need to fight out for the rest of the season for me. Yeah, those are my 4 centre-backs. Moving on to the fullbacks, and I think, like the keepers, it's pretty much a straightforward selection. Walker, Trippier on the right, and Rose and Bertrand on the left. Walker and Trippier, they will be battling out for a place at the moment, and Trippier is currently battling out with Aurier, but I do think Trippier is a lot better than Aurier in this role. Walker as well is fantastic fullback, shown that at Man City. I think these 2 will be great for any sort of formation, for 4 at the back or 5 at the back, so those 2 are definite. And then the 2 left backs, we don't really have anyone else that can come in. Maybe looking at Charlie Daniels, maybe looking at Aaron Cresswell. No, I see those 2. Rose definitely the first choice, with Bertrand, nice understudy to have. Can also fit in as centre back if need be. Did do for Southampton sometimes. So yeah, but fullback wise, I think those 2 are pretty straightforward. Now we go on to something a bit interesting. I've got my central midfielders. Now I've got 4. There are people that can play central midfield higher up, which I'll go on to, but the 4 I've got here are Dyer, Henderson, Winks and Loftus-Cheek. Now the reason I said it was a bit controversial earlier that I picked 4 centre-backs is that Dyer could technically count as a 5th, Bertrand slotting in maybe as a 6th, but like I say, we've been playing 3 at the back, and if I was England manager and it's been working, stick 3 at the back. And you've got then 2 covering players. Dyer can play defence and midfield. In the Sky Sports selector, he's selected as a defender, but I see him as a midfielder and a defender, so he can play well in the midfield. Jordan Henderson is very much a controversial figure. I think he makes it in, level-headed, decent on the ball. As long as he can get a decent run of form going, he'd be first choice. But at the moment, he'd be battling out for Dyer in that role. The other 2, you've got Winks and Loftus-Cheek. Now, they're 2 relatively unexperienced players, quite young as well, but when they've come on to England and they've played this season, they've looked really good. Now Loftus-Cheek very much could be a further forward player, but I do maybe like him a bit further back. They can play further forward if need be. But Winks, Henderson and Dyer, I think, are the 3 central midfielders that I'd go with. Henderson and Dyer next to Winks or Loftus-Cheek. But those four I think are a nice balance again. Next we've got the more attacking / wide players, and we've got Ali, Lallana, Sterling and Antonio. I know that one's going to be one of the ones that's questioned. Dele Alli I think has to go. He's one of the players that it doesn't matter what he does, he's nailed on to go to Russia. He's on the plane already. He can play in the centre if we're playing, let's say, a 5-2-1-2. He's going to play in that central role behind the strikers. If we play 5-2-2-1, he can play either side like he has for Tottenham and maybe be very, very narrow. He can also slot back if we need to attack, or so we're playing against a weaker team. He can be one of the central midfielders as Tuchel and Lallana. They're very dynamic players, and that's why I like them. As for wide players, Sterling and Antonio. Now we've got Ali and Lallana, and maybe even Loftus-Cheek that can play in wide areas. Sterling I think has been in fantastic form, and probably one of the ones that's already booked his place to Russia. Antonio, sort of an on and off season, a couple of injuries. If he can get fit and he's ready for the World Cup, he makes the plane for me, because he's a menace. He's incredibly hard to defend against, and I think if he's running at you, he scares you, and when he does do that in the Premier League, he's very, very good. And those Sterling and Antonio, if they can start taking on men without being nervous, they're going to be very, 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 very good, and very useful. I said very a lot, very, very, very much. A little bit of banter, but those four I think are good players to have in the team. Again, injury-wise, Lallana's come back from an injury. Antonio has, sort of had injuries all the way throughout this season. So if those two can stay fit, they make my team. And lastly, we've got the attackers, and we've got Kane, Vardy, Rashford, and Andy Carroll. And the dislikes are now well and truly on the way. Kane, he's booked his place easily. Not on set pieces, get away from them, but booked his place. He's our best striker by far. And he's a poacher, he's a finisher, and something that could really be useful if he's on form for England. Vardy is another one that I think is probably a defo to go. Defo to go. I didn't think I'd say defo in the video. But his pace can be very, very attractive to our style of football, and the fact he maybe could slot wide, but I would say more of a striker role. If we're going to play two up top, he could play there. One up top, of course, Kane takes it, but on the bench could be very, very useful. And of course, Kane and Vardy up front and 5 at the back with 5-2-1-2 could be really, really good looking. Now the other two are questionable. Rashford is one that I've questioned and sort of doubted for a lot of the time. I think he burst onto the scene. I think his form last season wasn't too good. His form this season hasn't been too good, but he's finding his role on the wide sides of midfield really, really well, and he's been doing all right point-wise in Fantasy Premier League, but also performance-wise, and I think that's where he could come in handy. He can play out front with his pace, but he can also play wide. That's why I wasn't worried about having just two wingers in Antonio and Sterling, because we've basically got a third in Rashford, and he can be really, really vital to our chances of winning. And Andy Carroll. Many people come up with the argument, well, we can't just, in its club or country, whatever the argument is, we can't just lump it forward to the big man and try and win that way. But if it is, let's say we get through to the final, and we've got 5 minutes left, we've got one sub to make, and they're sitting back, they're ready to, we're 1-0 down, they're sitting back. Are you saying you wouldn't celebrate if we lumped it forward to the big man and he nodded it down and scored? If it's our only hope, then I say we've got to have someone. Kane can do that, but Carroll is a menace. On his day, he is vitally important to teams, and he is a destructive player, and he has to be considered. Again, fitness is a big issue for a lot of my players. Fitness has to be considered over form or how useful they could be. If he's not 100% fit, he doesn't make it. Let me make that apparently clear. But if we have got 100% fit Andy Carroll, firing Andy Carroll, we've got to take him. I think he could be a massive part of the setup. And guys, it's a long way to go in the season. From now, you could see all 4 of those strikers I mentioned injure themselves. or you could see Carroll run out of form, you could see even Vardy and Rashford run out of form, other strikers maybe take their place, you could see Sterling get drops dramatically and maybe lose his place, someone like Walcott or Ox. It's a big decision picking the team, and I'm sure Southgate will pick my 23. I'm only joking, but I think this team gives us a nice balance. It's got a nice blend of experience and youth, and then the people weirdly in the middle. And I think that England squad could at least get out of the group stages. Not going to say anything else because I always get slated when I say I think we could win. But at this time I think if we get through past the last 16, I'll take it. Quarterfinals, as long as we don't go out miserably like we did against Iceland, I'll be happy. But alas, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your England squads, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.